Q's Countdown is back, baby, and so is Syracuse basketball after being off for a week following the postponement of Wednesday's game at Louisville. Next up for the 12-6 Orange is Notre Dame in the penultimate home game. What does Syracuse need to do to win its third straight and keep its tournament hopes alive? And what do you need to know about the Fighting Irish? We'll answer all those questions and more right now on Q's Countdown. Hit it!
We got breaking news here on this Q's Countdown webisode. Syracuse basketball is on the bubble. Max Chadwick alongside Calvin Cristoforo and John Dale's here on a Q's Countdown webisode previewing the Syracuse and Notre Dame basketball game. And Calvin, I got to start with you on this one. If Syracuse is going to pick up another win to keep themselves in the hunt for the tournament, what do the Orange need to do?
Well, Max, it's quite simple.
Welcome inside the Citrus TV studio for another edition of No Bubble. I'm Max Schauk alongside my trusted partner, Owen Valentine. And Owen, do you remember?
Do I remember what? The Titans?
No,
or
no,
the time
no.
we went on No Pulp where I was wearing a tie and you weren't?
I feel like we should just end the show right now anyway. Last night was the 21st night of September, and I'm dancing the night away because Big Ten football is back. The B1G announced last week its plans to return football on October 24th, despite announcing in August that the fall season would be postponed. Each team will play an 8-game conference-only schedule in 8 weeks, leaving no wiggle room before the Big Ten championship game on December 19th, which is the day before the playoff teams are announced. Owen, were you surprised by how the Big Ten backtracked in this decision?
I'm not necessarily surprised. A couple of games. Maybe they'll change it up.
Absolutely. Let's move down south where a storm is brewing in the ACC. The Miami Hurricanes are 2-0 after beating number 24 Louisville in the Bluegrass State last Saturday. The Canes are currently ranked number 12 in the AP poll, their highest ranking since 2018. Owen, is it time to party like it's 2001?
Regardless of the opponent.
So we know the final score, 21-10. Let's dive deeper on some of the key numbers that led to that result. First off, the number 7. Lucky for most people, not for Tommy DeVito. That's the number of times Pitt sacked him on Saturday. Now you may be saying to yourself, listen, Max, Pitt's got an outstanding pass rush. You know what? Fine, I'll give you that. But the offensive line also allowed 7 sacks against North Carolina, 7 sacks in the opener, 7 sacks in the second game. That obviously equals an average of 7 sacks allowed per game. That's the most in the country. This isn't a new issue either because last season, Syracuse allowed 4.5 sacks per game, which was the 3rd most in the country. The Orange are currently on pace to be a lot worse this season. Syracuse has allowed 14 sacks in 2 weeks. Speaking of 14, that was the percentage of 3rd downs the Orange converted on Saturday. SU was a measly 2 for 14 on 3rd down, and if you extend that even further to 4th down attempts, it gets even worse. Syracuse was 0 for 2 on 4th down tries, making them 2 for 16 on 3rd and 4th downs.
Program back from where it was. They were really dependent on the triple option. So I'm not 100% sold he's bringing them back. What I am sold on, though, is his nicknamed DJ Jazzy Jeff for the playlist that he plays during their practices. I'm all in on that.
Let's go to the other DJ Jazzy Jeff on Georgia Tech. That's quarterback Jeff Sims. Calvin, tell me about the true freshman.
He turned a lot of heads in his first couple starts as the head man at Georgia Tech.
Actually throw the ball away instead of hanging on to it for too long.
So John, as you know, the most popular player on a bad team is the backup quarterback. Syracuse's backup, Rex Culpepper, is pretty popular since he threw a 69-yard touchdown pass against Pitt for SU's only touchdown of the season. Now, Calvin, is it time to make the change from Tommy to Rex?
Max, if you were to draw a match made in heaven for the SU defense to set the offense up with some short fields.
So one area where Georgia Tech struggles is in the red zone. They've scored on only 56% of their red zone opportunities, which is 3rd worst in the ACC. Now, John Dales has more on what's gone wrong for the Yellow Jackets when they're 20 yards from pay dirt.
True freshman quarterback Jeff Sims might be Georgia Tech's best player on their roster. When they can take the ball away, Jeff Sims has to play smarter this week.
Thanks so much, John. Well, a lot has gone wrong for Syracuse this season. Who's to blame? We'll point the fingers and determine who's innocent and who's guilty in Countdown Courtroom. Don't go anywhere. Q's Countdown will be back right after this. Welcome to Countdown Courtroom. I'm the most honorable Judge Chadwick, presiding over my attorneys Calvin Cristoforo and John Dales. Gentlemen, I have 3 cases for you. Each of you will present your arguments, and I will serve as the judge and jury and maybe even executioner. Most importantly, respect that gavel. Our first lawsuit. Kadari Richmond is suing Jim Boeheim for theft of minutes. Mr. Dales, you may proceed.
Yeah, my client Kadari.
Finally, guys, it's determined all now. The defense is attempting to divorce the offense for not meeting their needs. Mr. Dales, who deserves to keep the newly renovated dome in the divorce?
Well, Max, it's pretty easy.
I've heard enough, gentlemen. It was tough. Calvin, you really fought your hardest. 2 rookie lawyers, you guys were both excellent. I'm going to go with Mr. Dales, though, because this defense is being abandoned by this offense, and the offense can't do anything. I agree with you, John. This defense is not getting any help right now. So congratulations to you, John.
Those guys are shooters. They're not defenders.
Max, before I start, I want to make it clear that I'm in this courtroom under protest following my loss last time I was in this courtroom. But
listen, Calvin, I completely tuned you out once you told me that you were under protest. I'm giving this one to John here because I just don't care what you have to say. If you don't respect me, I'm not going to respect you. Our second case, Jim Boeheim suing Joe Girard for false advertising. Mr. Dales, you may again present your case first. All right, listen, Calvin, I hate to do it, but you made a really good argument there. So I'm going to give you the point. So our final case, which will decide who's the best lawyer, analyst, and all-around human being, Quincy Guerrier is suing the rest of the team for inadequacy. Mr. Cristoforo, you may proceed first now.
Max, Quincy Guerrier is fighting a war alone out there. He can go to the basket, he can rebound the basketball. He's not going out there to score 20 points a night. 15-9 is what Quincy Guerrier is, and he's doing it excellently.
Let me just close with this. How many times this season have we seen a late game scenario where Syracuse goes, all right, get the ball in the hands of your best player? It's never happened. It has never happened.
He plays all around basketball.
He's not a scorer, but he's an all-around player. How does that fit?
Exactly
How does that fit?
15
Makes no sense to me. It makes no sense to me at all. All around, but he can't score?
Come on.
All right, listen, I think I'm deaf after all that yelling. I'm going to give this one to John Dales. Not only did he give the best arguments, but Calvin, you disrespected me in the beginning of this segment, and for that reason, and for John Dales just being a better analyst and a better lawyer, a better all-around human being, John Dales is your winner.
Congratulations, you won because the judge doesn't like me.
Coming up after the break, we're going to talk to Notre Dame play-by-play man Jack Nolan, and finally, John and I, not Calvin, will give our predictions for Saturday's game. We're wrapping up Q's Countdown right after the break. Welcome back to Q's Countdown. I'm Max Chadwick alongside John Dales and some guy named Calvin Cristoforo. We now welcome on a very distinguished guest, the voice of the Irish, Jack Nolan. Jack, thanks so much for coming on.
My pleasure.
So listen, Jack, Nate Laszewski has really come into his own this year. He leads the team in scoring. What kind of a leadership aspect does he provide?
Well, I think he
beyond the arc for the Orange to keep up. I think Notre Dame comes into the Dome and goes back to South Bend with a victory.
We got 1 pick for Syracuse and 1 pick for Notre Dame. I'm going to make it 2 for Syracuse, 78-75 SU. They're taking this one, and they're going to keep their tournament hopes alive. But, of course, follow along on our Twitter, @Citrus TV Sports, for updates throughout the game. For John Dales and Calvin Cristoforo, I'm Max Chadwick. Enjoy the game.